And good morning. Have you ever noticed how these days just scream by? Can you believe it's Wednesday already? It is, but we are warmer this morning as you're waking up. 43, I'm happy to report. We'll get to 72 before it's over, but, well, don't bet on a great hair day. We've got 30-mile-an-hour gusts expected today, so keep that in mind. And again, watch fires. If you don't have to burn, wait till these days of this wind is gone. It'll get better before it's all said and done. Our volunteer fire departments have been busy over the last few days putting those out. Even over in the edge of Alabama, y'all have had that as well. As I said, 6:31 as we begin this day together. We got a lot to talk about what happened last night. State of the Union happened. One of the biggest speeches the president will make. Did you see it? I somehow or another missed it all. We had several events going on in town, and I didn't get to watch all of that. Jeff Lewis, we'll tell you about Jeff here in a little while. He's up and at 'em. Good morning, good morning. So glad to see everybody. We'll be right back as we'll get this day underway. So first, we get a good word from the good Lord above. We'll be right back.
Have you noticed that most people work harder when the boss is watching? I mean, that's human nature. When the supervisor walks by, phones disappear, conversations end. We perform for the audience in the room. But the moment they're gone, we drift back to whatever we were doing before. Now, Paul has a word for that. He called it there in the Bible, eye service. That's working only when someone's watching. And in Colossians 3:22, he calls believers to something radically different. Bondservants, obey in everything those who are your earthly masters, not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but with sincerity of heart, fearing the Lord. Now, when Christ changes a person, he doesn't just change what they do on Sunday morning. He follows them into Monday, right? Into the warehouse, the office, the job site, the classroom, right? Christ redeems the way a person works. Now, before Christ, it was all about me, my comfort, my effort, my paycheck. I do what I must do to get what I want. But when the Holy Spirit takes up residence in a life, that motivation, it shifts from the inside out. The question stops being, what can I get away with? And becomes, how can I honor God right here? Sincerity of heart, that means working without a hidden agenda, without pretense. A Christ follower doesn't need the boss watching because they're always working under God's gaze. And that changes everything, right? They arrive on time because integrity matters to God. They give their full effort because half-hearted work doesn't reflect a wholehearted commitment to the Savior. They treat workers with dignity because every person bears the image of God. You know, the redeemed employee, he becomes the most trustworthy person in the building, not because they're trying to get ahead, because Christ is their true employer. Work becomes worship. The ordinary becomes sacred. And a watching world takes notice because Christ is magnified. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Welcome back. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. Welcome if this is your first time for ever watching. We go over a little bit of headlines that shape America, and we'll get into local coming up, plus all of your forecasts of what's going on in and around the area. Nothing wrong with that. We'll let you know what happens in other parts of the country as well. I was almost late this morning. How you get sidetracked, or the older I get, I think the easier I get sidetracked. I was getting ready to do something, and Joe Diffie popped in my mind. Y'all remember Joe? It's been 6 years since Joe passed away. He died during COVID. And Joe, he was a country music artist, if you don't listen to that. Joe had such an incredible voice. And I ran across one of the songs that I'm not sure that he actually ever released to radio, but George Jones is She Thinks I Still Care. Whew. Strong, strong, strong. Joe was such a talent, and we lost him. Just because I rang her number today, She Thinks I Still Care. Of course, it was by mistake that he done that. Good morning. As we get into what is happening across America, Savannah Guthrie has announced a $1 million reward for the safe return of her mother. Now, I'd gotten a call yesterday when this first come out, and someone said to me, why did they wait so long to do this? And as you dig deeper into this story, the sheriff more or less urged at a high urgency not to do so. I feel like it should have been done before now. Anything that you read on these cases at first 48 is the most critical time of finding someone that's been abducted. Hopefully one day we'll get an answer to this, but $1 million reward being now offered for her return. Not sure that this will ever happen. We would love for it to. At the end of the day, I don't think they still have a lot of solid evidence. Very few clues. And again, as I mentioned the other day, to where when this first come out, they were really talking about the guy at the front door didn't know what he was doing. He was going to give himself up. For a month now, he has outsmarted them. SO's investigating. It's sad all the way around. The Supreme Court made a ruling yesterday, and you should know about this. And I've brought this up several times because it hits so home with us when it comes to the post office. I remember here in the Meridian area not long ago when checks were missing from businesses. They were being taken right out of their mailbox, being diverted allegedly to checking accounts. There was a fraud scheme going on. We never got any information on the arrest of who did it, if they were relieved of their duties. Again, everything was alleged, but I do know without a shadow of a doubt it was at least 8 to 10 businesses here that it happened. And we're talking large amounts of money. The Supreme Court yesterday ruled that the U.S. Postal Service cannot be sued. What they're saying is no matter what happens, if your mail is late, you don't get that check, it's not going to happen. You're not going to sue because it would basically open the floodgates, and it's already about to sink. There does need to probably be a new hiring process for things to stop what I just talked about. Constantly on my end, I'm not running anybody down, it's the truth. Things are late. I'll mail checks, and it takes forever to get there. I don't know what the problem is. I don't. But it does have issues. We see that yesterday, this is just horrible. We know that on the other side of that badge, there lies a family. 2 Missouri deputies were fatally shot yesterday. Eventually, the culprit who fled was chased down in a gunfire, and he also lost his life. Traffic stopped, opened fire on the deputies, taking their lives. We send condolences to their family. I don't know who they are at this point. I hadn't gotten deep enough into that, but it's sad. Keep that family in your thoughts and prayers. Washington State, as we go there. It's cold up there, isn't it? We see that 4 people are dead now after a stabbing after it went through a neighborhood there. Happened at a home early Tuesday morning of last week, and we're starting, of this week rather, as we get a few details out of that. How horrible. I may have mentioned this before, but it's come back up in the news, and you should know. $2 billion, I think, was spent on her campaign as she raced to be your president. Kamala Harris says she might run for president again. Aren't they still paying that last $20 million off? Who's going to donate to that? I could be wrong. There's been stranger things in America, but it was $2 billion that was spent. Woof. Well, we go to Michigan, and I'll word it this way, alleged, because I hadn't put my hand on it and held a piece of paper in my hand, but reporters are saying that 25,975 people were dead who were on the voter rolls in Michigan last go-around. 95% of the voters were marked active. 23,000 had been dead for 5 years or more. 17,000 had been dead for 10 years, and 4,000 had been dead for at least 20 years. It's time to remove them from the voter rolls, don't you think? There needs to be a purge. It happens. It's just what goes on in life. We have to have voter rolls that are correct. I won't show the video to this. I'm not sure exactly who owns it, but The garbage guy. Man, he works hard. I see he's a nice fellow that comes by my house every day, every week, and picks up the garbage. This was in Ohio. As he went to grab the garbage can to put it in the back of the truck, you know how it picks it up after they set it there and dumps it into the back of the truck? He grabbed to it, and a guy jumped out of the garbage can. Oh, yeah, it was rather funny, and he jumps back. The police were chasing the guy, and he jumped into the nearest garbage can that he could to hide himself. Then a foot chase began, and I think the police caught the guy a few blocks down the road. He didn't quite make it to the Winter Olympics. He was trying, but he didn't quite get there. I may mispronounce this. If I do, I apologize about this. But as we all remember that big robbery that happened in broad daylight, and let me see if I can say the name right. Louvre director, you remember the big one, the jewels, the crown jewels that were stolen? The director has resigned 4 months after that happened. 4 months. Shocking, shocking. NYPD, I'm sure that they've got a lot going on, but I see here to where, what do you expect, I think is the word that I'm looking for. The NYPD showed up for a large snowball fight. Now, what happens when people are snowball fighting? They're fun. It's what it is. 2 officers were pelted by snowballs, and now they're investigating that. Again, there's got to be something on the subway that you could be investigating and go on about your business. That's just my 2 thoughts there. The United States military has seized a 3rd ship in the Indian Ocean linked to Venezuela. Oil, that is. Black gold. That's the latest there. Dan Bonagino, wading off into this. I always liked Dan. Of course, he got into the FBI for a brief period and looked as though he was not happy the entire time he was there. He's gone back to podcasting again. And this is such a, is the word, I can't think of the word, Candace Owens. As she fights the Kirk Foundation, Charlie Kirk's widow, she's constantly arguing with them. I don't know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Dan Bonagino choosing to call her out, saying that Candace needs to back off. She's wrong. He's leaning, taking sides with Charlie Kirk's family. Candace thinks there's a conspiracy on everything these days. Now, what I can tell you is by doing this, it has shot her numbers up, which means she's making a little bit more money than she once did, making her top of mind awareness all I can think of. But it's on and on and on. She's been arguing with a lot of people. Joe Rogan, probably, well, he is. Let me back up on what I was going to say. He is the top podcaster in the U.S. He recently said, while reading a magazine, he remember reading it, said, if you're unvaccinated, it might be time for you, it might be to make your end of will life. The magazine was basically saying you need to do a will. He said the same magazine years later says COVID vaccines may cause heart damage. He said the same magazine. They didn't know what they were talking about. None of them did during that time. It was up to you as an American to take that or not. Let's see here. As we look at California, as we look at what's going on out there, a law firm has identified what they're saying. This is California now, the school system. Just one attorney, and we'll use the word alleged, 360 teachers that possibly could be sexual predators that are still working. My, oh my, it looks as though someone in HR department should do their job, does it not? 360. That is the last thing you need in a school. And we'll tell you about something locally that happened not far from here yesterday. Poland, have you seen this? I'm not sure how far they'll get to it. How would they get their hands on the file, number one? But they say they're going to start their own investigation into the Epstein files. They weren't happy with what happened in the end. Maybe they got files we don't know about. That's possible, without a doubt there. Now, here's something as I wade off into territory that should bother each American. I didn't even realize this. We go back to 2023 as I begin this story. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis, a great city in the U.S., but has been steadily, well, you've seen what's happened over the last few months. Fraud, and then the next thing we know, we have everybody squabbling and yelling at each other in the street. But I think it all goes back to fraud. As so many refugees, I'll word it that way in the beginning. Wait a minute, I said that wrong. Undocumented, illegal aliens, that's the word, were allowed in the city. Now, we go back to this. I never saw this in 23. It was on low key. In 2023, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they allowed the broadcast of the Muslim prayer to be broadcast throughout the city on speakers 5 times a day. That's American soul. This is another country bringing their traditions to the U.S. This was 2023 that this happened. Did y'all know this? I did not. I did not see that at all. As you will see, let me remind you of this, what goes on in New York. New York City could not play church bells because they were too noisy in the city. But yet, now in New York, they were allowed to play 5 times a day the Muslim prayer in New York. But you can't do church bells because they're too loud. This should alarm Americans quickly. I had someone send I actually read this. They sent this in on Twitter. It said, New York, the mayor didn't lie to you. He told you he was a socialist. Everything that's happening now is socialism in action. It's your fault you didn't listen. It's only going to get worse in New York. I warn you. Last night, and again, I have to apologize, I didn't watch all of this. We had 17 Democrats that skipped the State of the Union address last night. Did you watch it? We were busy with what was going on out in Collinsville, and I was tracking that, and I got caught up in that and missed it. 17 avoided it there. Barely, and I think Fetterman was one of the only that stood up that said, it is your duty of the government to protect its own citizens. Y'all remember that? How soon we forget. And I'm going to show this picture from Twitter because I've never seen him look this clean. As I mentioned, John Fetterman, you remember him, Mr. I got a hoodie on? He actually went somewhere and borrowed a suit last night. Look at this. There he is standing there. It's shocking.
He didn't have his sweatshirt on?
He didn't have a sweatshirt. He dressed up for the event. He's different, don't get me wrong. But he seems to have knowledge of what the U.S. should be. I didn't know this, and let me show you a picture of this. I found this as interesting as all get out. Last night, they brought in the gavel of George Washington. Did y'all know that even existed? I didn't know it was. Here's a picture of this in the case where they bring it out, and I guess it's used occasionally, but that was George Washington's. It was used last night for the State of the Union. That is neat, and more neat. We had 2 awards that were given last night. Our first, NBC had put out that it was a Coast Guard officer who received this. That's how I found about it. His name was Petty Officer 3rd Class Scott Ruskin, who helped ensure that 160 people got to safety. And then we had another gentleman that the president's wife went out and she hung it around his neck. He was 100 years old, retired Navy captain. He was recognized for extraordinary dogfight during the Korean War. Isn't that sweet? That's good. It's good that we remember those who gave all for our country, who did the most that they could. We do see that Representative Al Green was ejected for the 2nd year in a row from the State of the Union. That's 2 in a row. I'm sure he'll do it again as well. The Virginia governor gave the response to Trump's speech last night. Maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. I did not hear her rebuttal. She seems to think a little different than I do, and I just let her talk. It'll be okay. The New York Times, as I look at this, and then we'll go to weather. The New York Times, I don't understand. Is there anything wrong with being proud that you're an American? I don't think so. We should all gather around that and rally that. But they did a piece, a news story on why the hockey team didn't reject Trump's invitation to the White House. Why weren't they glad that they got an invite? My 2 cents worth on that. We'll be right back with that weather forecast.
They do to train their people, but they're always so friendly. Everybody on the phone is friendly. Everyone who comes out to help is professional and kind.
If we want our team to treat our customers well, it starts with us treating the team well. My grandfather and father worked hard to create a family atmosphere where we care for each other, celebrate each other, and genuinely enjoy working together to serve our customers. That overflows to the customer's experience, and that's hassle-free plumbing and AC.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA.
Our record highs and record lows. Anybody remember 1918? No, I didn't think you did, but it was 85. Brr, hot, hot. We go back to 1967 for a cold day. It was 20 way back when. As we look at our outlook for today, you can't ask for anything better for our area. It's going to be cloudy nonetheless, but 72 for a high as we go north. You'll see 70 from there to Louisville. Nice weather there all the way to the state line. It'll start getting cooler at Tupelo. Somewhere around 66 and making 62 there by Iuka. Down the river, we'll see 75 in between Vicksburg and Natchez and 69 on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. As we look to tonight, what will happen? Boy, it sure is warmer. 57. That's yesterday's high. We were down to what yesterday morning at 23. We're sitting at 43 right now. Huge difference. I even made it to work without shivering this morning. Our low 57 tonight. We'll see 58 Columbus Air Force Base, around 52 at the state line, 60 in Greenville down to Vicksburg, warming to 62 at Natchez, and all the way to the Gulf Coast. We should see about that same temperature. Over in Alabama, we'll see 72 there in Demopolis and Livingston, up to 65 there in Birmingham. Over in Montgomery, nice 72 and 68 in Auburn. War Eagle, as they have a pretty good day. We do see that it's warm now, but what is that way back out there to our west? Probably warmer weather making its way. The groundhog got it right for about a day, didn't he? Yeah, he needs to go back and just stay where he's at. Here's our outlook as we near 80 degrees. Look at this, 72 today, 0% chance of rain, but tomorrow you're going to get wet. Go ahead and put it in your truck. Throw that umbrella in there. You'll need it a 70% chance of the wet stuff. We'll have Friday ending the week with only a 20% chance of showers, but still nice and 71. Saturday, have you got an event for this weekend? 76 and sunshine will be what will happen Saturday. Couldn't get better for church either. 78 on Sunday morning. Sunshine throughout the land, 77 on Monday. We'll hold that through Tuesday at 77. And let's go all the way through March 11th as we'll see 76, hitting 78 several days there from the 5th to the 7th. A few thunderstorms mixed in with that, but nothing but mid-70 degree weather. Nighttime lows right at 60 all the way through the 11th of March. Now, April ain't over. And let me go ahead and use that word ain't. Just remember that. We ain't reached it all just yet. What's happening with our fishing forecast? Here's what we got. South-southwest wind today. Sustained winds of 10 to 20, but that gust will be about 30 miles an hour, which tells us put the matches away. Stay away from burning any trash or any debris that you wanted to get rid of. Hold off. It'll get sunny and it'll be calm before long, but now's not the time to do that. Major times to fish today began at 5:50. It'll end about 8 a.m. this morning. You've got another time this afternoon. It'll be dark 30 when it happens. We've got 1 hour's worth of good fishing left at 11:15 today, between 11:15 and 12:15, if you can squeeze a lunchtime cane pole out off the creek bank. Sunrise happened at 6:26. Sunset rolls in at 5:49 this afternoon. Let's go over and take a look at our radar as we see what's happening nationwide and locally. Let me get over there. I didn't quite pull it up in time. Here's what we got as we pull up Doc's Toyota radar. Absolutely clean throughout the state of Mississippi. Nothing going on. Down in Lafayette, as we look over to our southwest from here, we do have a wind advisory going all the way through Beaumont, Texas, all these areas here through New Iberia and Lake Charles, Alexandria, Louisiana. We've got a little bit of cold weather down here near Pensacola, Navarre. You'll see that rip current statement going on there. Woof. Over to Apalachicola, Florida. As we get into Georgia there, it's cold over here. Southwest Georgia, look at that freeze warning all the way down into Florida, Gainesville. All of those areas there. A few showers up through Columbia, and then we get into Charleston, West Virginia. What is that I see just to the east of you? Whoa, some snow. Y'all be careful there. Pittsburgh has snow this morning as well if you're in that area. And out to our west, Colorado, Denver, that area also getting a little bit of snow if you're going to be traveling across this great land. Wyoming looks absolutely cold, and I'm going to stay where I'm at. I've lost nothing in Wyoming. I love you people, but I'm not coming to visit. Amber, good morning there. We got birthdays. That's going to be happening in just a few moments. I want to wish Emma Smith a happy birthday. She's turning 20. She just got off work. Want to make sure she heard it. You be careful going home. We'll have all those birthdays coming up at the top of the hour. Odie's in. He's getting ready for a fun-filled day. Checking his phone and checking it twice over there for some reason. We'll find out what's going on. We got coffee on the way. Join us live at 7 as we'll give you all the things that happened in the last 24. Come visit with us live at 7.